Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Octoman, and this is the video about how to create, a 3D homing missile in Unity. Currently, I'm using Unity 2K 18.2. Whatever 11 F1 or something. So, nothing fancy. Should work in like everything after, probably after Unity 4 or something. I don't know. So, what this is going to be about? Well, this has been a request from a subscriber, I believe. So, he was asking how to do a homing missile, and I'm going to discover this one in this live stream, or for probably when you're seeing this one later on. Of course, you see this just in the video. So, what I have is like a 3D model of a, let's say, a homing missile tower or something, which we probably go and check out in a second. I'm gonna remove that because I don't need it. I have a target. This is going to be my target cube, so I'm gonna probably rename it to be target with a big T, something like that. And then I have a missile. So this missile is going to show or is going to represent later on this homing style. It is going to do the movement on its own, so we're gonna actually cover everything is needed to fly this missile homingly to this cube over here. Probably we're gonna start with the homing base over here, like I'm gonna instantiate those missiles, give them maybe some power, whatever, and let them fly outside of these muzzles or whatever they are called, or at least in front of them, just in the rotation they have to be. So, how do we do that? At first, I want to take care of the missile tower. What I need to do is I need a position where I can actually translate, or let's say spawn the missiles on next to the tower, like rather close in front over here. Also, you can see the missile's pivot point is going to sit somewhere here. So when I go to the local one, the forward axis is going to be the blue axis over here. So this is important whenever you are a 3D modeler. You want to make sure that the forward axis always shows forward. If you have any axis conversion problems later on, make sure that you fix them, or link your missile to an empty game object which is taking care of the correct orientation. Okay, so I want to prepare the missile tower at first, so it's automatically shooting like I once a second or so out of these muscles over here, or these yeah whatever tubes. So that's what I'm going to take it first care of. I want to create an empty game object, which is going to be, I don't know, a spawn point. Let's name it spawn point, and I can put this wherever I need to. So at first, once again, it's empty. If you don't see this quite nicely, you can always use an icon to showcase where it is about to be. So somewhere here. If you don't like these icons, of course, you can disable them, or you can put in your own icons anytime you like to. That was the wrong axis, so I put this a bit closer here. And probably also I want to get the rotation angle of this piece like it is, so that when you can see this or this border here, I would say, let's try if I can anyhow get into an isometric style view like this. I want to make sure that this blue axis over here is rotated so that it is matching the rotation of the tower over here, so probably quite close to that. As you can see, so this upper angle, or this the y-axis over here is going to match over there with that line. You only need to do this once. I get rid of this little icon again, none. And I go outside of that isometric view. I want to make sure it's about the center of the hole. And if you need to stick this one a bit more into your hole, absolutely no problem, I guess. So then what I do is I duplicate this and bring this over to the next hole. I want to make sure it's about to be centered. Can look strange, as you can see, but really I don't really care about this. So somehow it seems when I would look from the top, maybe also go into isometric view, that I need to also rotate this one a bit further frontal. Gonna do this for all the three. So make sure you work rather clean, or as clean as you can, so you don't have any surprises later on. So this is going to be kind of the direction. Okay, so what's important for that is once again that the forward axis, the blue axis, is going to look outside the hole and hopefully is centered or close to be centered. Somehow there's still some rotation on it. Gonna should take care of this once again as well to match my. That's strange. Probably. Usually it should just be the 0 here in the z-axis, so without any rotation. On the z-axis, let's see that from the side. Yeah, that looks good. Also, y does not need to have any rotation, I believe. So test it out. And we need an x rotation here. Okay. Okay, so and now I want to bring these a bit closer again to the device here. This one as well. Do us through this cool, yeah, crazy rotation. I believe this was quite a mess to set up. So looks good. You can always select them one by the other and check if they're about where they have to be. Okay, cool. So now I have this the 3 spawn points. If you want to later on rotate that things around or something, we don't cover this in this tutorial because it would just be too much. I just want to make sure that I yeah, actually make these spawn points child of the top. So for example, if that is going to be the box over here, the box 001, I didn't take care of that. I want to make sure that I put this over here. So these guys here, these spawn points, are at least yeah, part of the base. So when the base is rotating later on, then the spawn points will rotate with it. So the base is going to be this one over here. So the least, when you want to go and do this rotations, you want to have the spawn points like connected to the base. Whenever you rotate this base, that these spawn points would basically follow, as you can see. Well, hopefully. Nope, they have been lost their positions. Anyhow, what's the problem here with my spawn points? Okay, that's strange. Okay, I go back into isometric view. I have no idea what's going on here. Probably I pressed some fancy button. Oh, somehow I cannot even drag these things anymore around. What's happening here? Okay, that's strange. I believe I have pressed any freaking button. Okay, where is it? Nope. That's funny. I can't even move these things around. Okay, I will be back in just a second. Sorry for that. So I'm gonna try to find an answer for this pretty quick. I guess I pressed some freaking button over here. Just a second. Nope, I don't save that. Okay, I have no idea what's happened. So let's check it out pretty quick once again. I go to isometric view and go to the left. Create an empty game object. I bring this maybe to 000. At first, I'm gonna make sure that I put it wherever this port is going to be. Rotate it only in the axis I want to. And then I switch over here, duplicate this once and twice. And then I'm gonna take them and make them at least, I believe it's going to be this one down below here. I make sure that I add them to the cylinder. So they shouldn't have any problems. So once again, whenever I rotate this thing around, these objects here should follow up pretty good. Once again, no idea what happened. So now I can actually go and create the mechanics or the scripting for the missile tower itself. So I can zoom in a bit over here. What I need to have is at first an array, a public array, can also, better, a public array of type transform, which is going to hold our spawn points. Spawn points. And an array needs to be declared with two square brackets over here. So we need to put this into that. So now we can drag all the spawn points into it, and we can basically loop through everything over there over time and instantiate a missile wherever we want to. So to instantiate a missile, we need, of course, have a missile connected. So public game object with a big G. And this one needs to be, once again, this is going to be our missile we want to instantiate. And then we can think about how we want to instantiate it. So we might want to have some kind of timed action. So we'll probably just do an invoke repeating and here check this and update, or actually don't need update for that. But we probably want to make a, at least we create our own function over here. So for example, we can say spawn missile and open close parentheses. And what we want to do is at first we probably need an integer which is taking care of what's the current spawn point, or we're gonna take as an index into what we do here. We can also loop through that, but the point is by timed action you need to do it's so that you, for example, take invoke repeating in consideration, and or just a normal invoke, and you re-invoke the function, or you're gonna take a coroutine which is going to do the timed action for you. So all three are going to working. We can literally enable and disable them whenever we need and like to, like on button press, for example, and or on whenever we keep a button holding and so on and so forth. Then we can trigger all of that stuff. Once again, it's up to you. I guess there are several possibilities we can do for that, or make use over here. So once again, coroutine, invoke, or invoke repeating, all of them work. Let us do the invoke at first, so I can explain how invoke works. I need an integer, which is once again going to be the current spawn point index. I just name it index over here, and we start with number 0 over here. We don't need to declare the 0, but maybe it's easier for you to understand. So an array always starts at the number 0 as an index 0, so we count 0, 1, 2. So the third spawn point is going to be number 2, not number 3, because we are starting at an index of 0. So we want to increment this index after we have spawned our missile. So what we want to do is we want to create a new missile over here whenever we call a spawn missile as a function. So, and what we want to do is we say equal, I can't type today, sorry. So if we want to instantiate an object, it's going to be once again of type missile. Then we want to know where do we want to spawn this? So this is where the index comes in place. So in this particular case, we're gonna take spawn points dot and spawn points, and then in square brackets we're gonna take the index we were actually taking care of, and then we can take its position because it's of type transform already. And then we need a quaternion dot identity, which is going to be or determining the orientation of the missile. Okay, so that's what we do. We also need to typecast this into a game object. You can do this as over here as game object in the end, like so, or you can typecast in the very front. Once again, in front of instantiate, you can just say game object instantiate, but don't do both, just do one. So this or the other both works. I usually do as game object, so really I don't care. You can do it the one way or the other. Okay, so basically with spawning we are done, but whenever we have spawned, we want to have our index to be increased as long as it is smaller than the spawn point's maximum amount. So what we want to do is, we won't need to have an if statement over here, so we check if spawn points, or actually if index is smaller than spawn points dot I believe it's length. Yep. So the length of the array, or if index is smaller than spawn point dot length or smaller or equal, probably we need to put an equal over here, since index indicates directly the spawn points. So if it is smaller or equal to spawn point dot length, we set the index to be increased by 1. So we say plus equal 1 or plus plus, both works. And if that is not the case, else we want to set it back to 0. So we have an instant an instant loop by putting this back to 0. Then we once again go to 1, then we go to 2, and then we go back to 0 basically. So whenever we are smaller or equal to that, we only increase, otherwise we don't. I'm not sure if, I guess it needs to be like that without the without the without the equal sign. Because meanwhile it's smaller than the spawn point length, it's going to be, when it is 1, it will still increment it by 1, so we have still the same index, and at the next round it's going to return it back to the index of 0. I guess that should work fine so far. So now we need to, and what we need to do is, of course, at the very, very end, whenever we are done, we need to re-invoke this method, but also we need to start invoking this method at a specific timing. So, for example, we can say over here, we want to invoke a method. We just do it once. We can always cancel invoke whenever we want and like to. And we need in string parameter or in string or in quotes here, we need to say, what do we want to do? We want to call spawn missile. So the same one we are currently in. We need to make sure that is written 100% the same over here. And then we can define a time. For example, every 2 seconds, 2f or 1f, we can instantiate this once again. Hi, Jack. Sorry, I haven't seen this because the window was overlaying. You're welcome. Hopefully it will help you. So we are invoking this one. Also, we need to start to invoke this the first time. Otherwise, we are unable to start this spawning missile. We can also just call this missile and it will invoke itself. For example, at start or once again on button press. You can do this whatever and however you like to. So we can use the start method for this. So void start over here. And what we're going to do is we call basically just spawn missile in that. Also, we have the possibility once again to do a time-based one, like we only invoke after 5 seconds after the game has started. For example, this is one way you can do it. Once again, there are hundreds of ways how you can do this basically. So, so at start, we want to invoke a spawn missile, which is going to be this function. We're going to have an interval of 5 seconds over here, which we want to make use of. And then after this 5 seconds, all of that is going to happen. Like the missile gets instantiated, and once again, everything is going to happen here, and then it is re-invoking itself automatically. So this is the easiest way I believe you can do stuff like this missile tower. Once again, and based on the index, we're gonna change the position, the start position of where the missile is going to become spawned. We can already look into this in just a second whenever I created a missile. Hi Epic. Yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in once again. I sometimes have trouble in base of time because I have so many things to do, and I try to be every time here as much as I can, but still I have so many things, so many other projects, stuff and running, and also people which are hiring me to help them with their projects. So sometimes it can be late. And by the way, if you want to hire me and you need help for your projects, whatever you need, you can do so. Just check the description, and all the links and stuff are going to be inside. And infos are already on my website about that. Okay, so we have now these 3 spawn points. This time I haven't really taken care of the renaming at the moment, but doesn't really matter. I remove this and drag the missile tower script onto my game object here on my missile tower. So what does it mean now is I have this spawn point array. Whenever I lock this, by doing the small lock symbol over here, I can select objects like these 3 and can drag them directly into the array, and they will be automatically in here. I'm not sure which one is the first, so this is going to be like in the first in the list. As you can see, it starts elemental wise at element 0, then it comes to element 1 and element 2. So in element 2 is going to be the right one, element 3 is, or in this case element 2 is going to be the outer one, element 1 is going to be this, and the center is going to be element 0. So this is going to be like in the center, then left, then right, center, left, right. That's how they are going to get spawned. So here's my missile. It does not have any color or star or something. Also, it doesn't really should have or it shouldn't have any rotation, I would say. What moved? That's funny. Why is that moving when I change the numbers on the missile? Oh, because I locked it. Okay, cool. So I get rid of the orientation here because I want to take the orientation. Oh, there is one mistake I made based on the script. Oh, interior. Yeah, cool. Are you doing 3D rendering or stuff like ArchViz things with Unity? There was a request already about stuff like that. So based on code, I don't want to take the quaternion identity. I want to have the rotation of the spawn points index. So in this case, I need to change the quaternion dot identity wherever I am doing this rotation. I need to take the spawn points rotation. So spawn points, once again, it's going to be the index, and then I take the rotation of the spawn point as an indicator how the missile has to be rotated whenever it gets created. Don't forget to save your script of the missile tower once again. It doesn't really change anything, but we want to make sure that our missiles are going to, fly up a bit whenever, of course, the spawn point is flying or looking upwards. Okay, cool. So now the missile. The missile, the position doesn't really matter for our prefab, but what we need to do is we need to add some components as well as a missile script. So this missile script currently is empty. As you can see, I don't have anything on it. We can make use of a required component, or we just drag all the required components directly onto the missile. And the missile need, once again, this missile script. It also needs to have a rigid body component so we can actually take care of collision. And it also needs a collider, probably a capsule collider or something like that. Where is it? Capsule collider. There we go. So mine is a bit huge and also orientated in the wrong direction. Mine should look over the the Z axis, the forward axis. Radius is a bit too big as well as the height is a bit too small. And I guess that's fine for the tutorial. So I just increased the height and the radius was reduced a bit. So it's matching more my missile. You can also only do the top of the missile, whatever. Okay, so these are the at least required components. Also, I might want to go and check trigger, but not necessarily needed, I believe. Okay, so same for cube. Cube just need to have a collider at least, which is going to be the target, and we can place this basically wherever we want to. Now I want to go and cover everything about the missile and about the rotation of the missile. Okay, so let's open this one up in MonoDevelop or Visual Studio, whatever you like. First, we need to have a target for our missile, and we need to define this in this case by hand. Later on, you probably want to switch targets and stuff like that. So we say public transform with a big T, and it's going to be our target. So this is what we are aiming for. It can be anywhere in the scene, it can be 100 kilometers away, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's defined as anything. Then we have a vector array, which is basically storing our current direction where we want to fly to. So I name it direction. We're gonna recalculate the direction automatically, so that's why it is private. Yeah, I'm a generalist as well. Cool. Yeah, Unity's rendering pipeline is a bit strange, Epic. So I guess you're gonna have to, dig your head into it. What did they say on one of these speeches, the three speeches? It was something like "bake it until you make it" or so. So this is going to happen like a full time. I'm currently also having a big plate of an outer, like 1.4 kilometers by 1.4 kilometers outside, which I need to render in Unity as well. So I'm generalist as well. I have a lot of stuff I'm working on as well at the same time. That's why I cannot do all of that. Hi, Kral. Thanks a lot for us tuning in. Okay, let's go back to the script. What though our missile also need is, of course, a float speed, which is basically the speed of the ship, or not of the ship, of the missile. So maybe we're gonna make a 20, a 10, a 5, well, it depends on the missile, I guess. And we also need a rotation speed. This is going to be the speed of how fast the missile is able to rotate towards the target. Okay, so I'm gonna name this rotation speed is equal to, I don't know, 5, 10, whatever. I'm gonna test it out. I don't need start, so I get rid of it. We only do our movement in update. You can also use fixed update, I guess. Shouldn't be any troublesome in any case. So I'm gonna comment out, and here we just do a simple movement. So the basic movement of everything which is just flying straight over the z-axis, the forward axis, is super simple. In 2D or in 3D basically doesn't matter. 2D just needs some different requirements. What we can take is transform.translate. So we translate our missile over one specific vector translation. And the translation is going to take a vector dot forward. So our forward vector of the missile is driving the missile over its forward axis. So then we multiply that by our fly speed or speed, which is going to be 20 at the moment. And we're gonna calculate this times or multiply this times time dot delta time as we usually do. So this way we just drive the missile forward. We can instantly, by the way, test things out. And I want you to save as often as you can because sometimes Unity gets really picky. And I want to make a missile prefab out of here. So this prefab is currently in Unity 2K18. It's just a blue cube without this little paper sheet sign. So make sure you always use these things. In my missile tower, I want to make sure that I drag my newly created missile prefab. And it should already start after 5 seconds after I've started. It should shoot. Oh, by the way, our other bullet is already flying the missile. And the missile tower, after 5 seconds, you can see, and then repeatedly every 2 seconds, it's going to instantiate missiles. Now I'm at index out of range because somehow the missile tower did not reset its index. So probably we're gonna do another if statement in here. So not an else, but maybe an if. I don't know, index. If index is equal to 2, in my case it's 2. If it is equal then to 2, then I just reset the index to 0. Probably that helps. Let's check it out. Maybe that is why this didn't help or didn't work. Actually, I don't know. We'll see. So let's check it out. The first one should be over here, should come out of the center. That's happening. And the next one is left. Then the next one is right over here. And then it should start in the center again and keeps on going. Also, hopefully, we are now not inside any index out of range exception, which I don't think we're gonna be. And you can see it is shooting in the direction where the tower is looking. Pretty cool so far. So what we now need to do is we need to take care of that the missiles are trying to reach our target, right? So we are shooting to this direction, so probably we place our target behind it. So they need to do a curve into the direction of the target. How do we do this? Going back to the missile script, we need to recalculate the direction. So direction of the missile. Once again, you can, or let's say not direction, but rotation. Rotation is a better word. So make sure you comment out stuff whenever you need to revisit all your scripts and stuff like that. Then make sure that you know what your script have done, especially when you're new to Unity or new to C# scripting. Make sure that everything is 100% correct and you understand what you have done before. So I want to check at first if we have a target. So if target is not equal to null, so there is a target already in place, only then we want to do the rotation stuff in here. Otherwise, we just fly straight forward or whatever. So what we can do is, or we can even say we don't want to do anything without a target and probably destroy ourselves later on. Doesn't really matter for me at the moment because that's up to you. What we now want to do is we want to recalculate the vector, the direction vector, or actually calculate a direction. What we need to do is I put this into parentheses. It's actually not needed to put it in parentheses. Well, just then keep it as is. So what we need to do is we need to take the target position at the very first direct position, and we say minus transform.position. Transform. This is the transform.position is the position of the missile. What do we have now is some kind of a distance between those 2 points, two vectors in this case, because both represent a vector, and the direction vector basically takes those two vectors and negate them against each other. And so this way, you know the distance between those and you know where they are. Now, what we want to do is we want to normalize the direction. We can do normalize directly after this, whenever we are putting this into parentheses, or we're gonna say direction is equal to direction dot normalized. I guess both work. So if not, sorry, but I guess, well, at least this is going to work. So we normalize the direction over here of the vector. Once again, you can see returns as a vector with a magnitude of 1, so it's reducing, everything down. Now we need to have the look direction looking to our target, basically, or to the direction we are flying. So I create a new var. It can also be, once again, anything else, like a quaternion directly. I name it rot, R-O-T, for rotation. And I'm going to set this one to be equal to quaternion.look rotation. Open close parentheses, where do we want to look at is a vector 3, in this case our direction, our normalized direction vector. Okay, so now we look to it. Now what we need to do is we need to rotate it over time into the direction where we're actually flying to. So we say transform dot rotation. We want to manipulate the rotation of the missile is equal to, and now we do a spherical interpolation between the point where we're coming from and the point where we want to go to. It's going to be a quaternion dot slurp. So once again, whoops, what's that? Quaternion dot slurp. So once again, a spherical interpolation between two quaternions or 2 points. Slurp, and which one do we want to slurp from and slurp to? Of course, at first we want to slurp from our current rotation, so transform.rotation. Then we say comma. Let me increase that size, going to be slightly bit longer. Then what we need to take is the goal, or our aim is the rotation vector over here. Once again, it's also of type quaternion. Rotation, by the way, is also a quaternion. And then we can define how fast we want to do this. In this case, we're going to take rotation speed and multiply that by time.delta time. So we have a smooth movement on any device. That's it. Let's save and see what's going to happen. So once again, we don't do any calculation now based on collisions and stuff. We're going to implement this in just a moment. So I'm going to get rid of this missile because it's not needed anymore. And the missile tower is going to shoot our missiles. And they should, anyhow, fly to the target when the target is defined. But the target does not has been defined for the missile, I guess. Yep. So since this missile probably does not have any connection to anything inside the scene, so better we gonna check for the target on start or something, so we fill this automatically. I rename this one target, and in start of the missile, whenever it gets created, we want to set its target. So we don't do this here, but in update and start on wake wherever we want to. Okay, so start, and what we want to set is target, and we can, for example, look for the game object inside the scene. So target equals, this is the easiest one to find an object, game object dot find, and then we look for the string name of the target, which needs to be 100% correctly written, and that should be it. So we should be able now to find the target, anyhow. Okay. And this is going to represent a transform, so we need to say dot game object. So actually we take from, since this is a type transform, we need to convert this one into a game object, or no, we need to do it like so. We need to convert it into transform this way, not the other way. Since when we find a game object, the whatever we find is of type game object and not of type transform. Okay, cool. So when we now press play and whenever one missile gets launched, it should get the target because it's finding it on start and should fly to it. As you can see, they are now doing their rotation. They're going to, circle around the target. Pretty cool so far. So what they do now is, no matter where this target is going to be, they're gonna follow up. Even if I drag this up over here, they're always following the target. I don't know if you can see this. I hope so, since it's rather small missiles. And yeah, this is what they are doing at the moment. So they're swirling around my target over here, and I can move this like permanently. And depending on how fast they are in moving, they're actually, yeah, doing their job quite well. Okay, so now they find the target. Now we want to make sure that whenever they hit the target, they get destroyed. And for that, you can create a trigger, which is triggering directly on the target, meaning, or in this case, a tag first. So we go to add tag, text list, and I'm gonna take a target for this. You can later on take enemy or any other target or tag for that, like an enemy tag or a different player tag or any other ID, whatever you like and please. You can check for anything. This is just to showcase this pretty quick. So what I want to have is the target needs to get the tag probably over here. We can also say whenever the distance is closer than whatever to the target, we can also destroy the game object, like the missile itself, and we are good to go as well. So in Missile, we're gonna create pretty quick a void on trigger enter function. We take in a collider. We can name it call. Well, call is just a name. We can also name it Octoman or a Bugs Bunny. Doesn't really matter. So what we want to check is if the call the collider we are colliding with call dot and then we can take compare tag, or we can make use of tag purely. I'm gonna take compare tag because a lot of people are arguing, oh, this is like 100 milliseconds faster than doing the other one. Actually, I don't really care. You will not have like 100,000 of requests of comparing a tag with an object. So I don't know what the people are complaining about. Anyways, if you take a call dot compare tag, so you compare the collider we are colliding with this particular tag, which is going to be the target we have created for the cube. Then we want to destroy this missile. So we say destroy, open close parentheses, game object with a small g, and then you're good to go. Before you destroy the object, you want to probably play sound, show explosion, and so on. Explosion, and so on and so forth. So everything needs to be done before you're gonna destroy the object. If the destroy time is too small, you can increase or put in a destroy time of maybe 1 second over here to destroy it only after 1 second, so you have enough time to play your sounds and do the other stuff if you like to and have to. Okay, and that's basically everything you need to know about homing missiles or bullets in general or whatever, which are flying to someone or somebody or to some target over here. If there are multiple targets, make sure that you take probably the closest one, which you can measure by vector3.distance and get all targets you can find at the very first place. So, and somehow they don't react to it. Why is that so? I have no idea. We're gonna check the missile pretty quick. And probably we're gonna take this one and make sure this is of type trigger. Let's see if that does the job. We need to wait 5 seconds before this missile is launching. Boom. And now it has triggered the target to be its target, and then it destroys itself. Also, we could say, okay, if we are like, yeah, we can also destroy this object over here whenever we need and like to. Once again, these missiles always get destroyed whenever they're hitting this collision object. So make sure that you probably don't move these objects, I don't know, too slow maybe or too fast, whatever. So they have a possibility to actually reach the cube as that. So, and that's everything I wanted to cover in this, well, okayish length tutorial. I still hope you enjoyed this one, even if there's some trouble in between, but I don't care, and hopefully you don't care too. I hope you learned a lot by watching this. And if you have any questions or requests or whatever, go into in the comments below and write down everything you want to, and probably I'm gonna answer them sooner or later with a video. Or a live stream in this case, or whatever. And I will go over through everything. I will not ignore your requests. Sometimes just I don't have the time to do everything. So bear with me. And well, whenever once again you have any request, feel free to make it under this video or directly inside the request video I've choose or created like I don't know 2 or 3 days ago. And yeah, fill in your request, and depending on the size of the request, it can take longer or even shorter. And yeah, also, if you want to learn games in general, there are some links in the description below of the video where you can fully learn how to create fully functional games of different types. Just check the description and you're good to go. Once again, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this run. And once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, whatever you please like. Again, bye bye.